I thought beating infertility would be the hardest part, but after getting laid off before maternity leave, job hunting as a new mom felt impossible. Then we lost our home to Hurricane Milton. Someone took a chance and hired me, and I built something new. This is Momma Made It Happen.
Okay, so my husband, he's a logistics planner, and so fireworks they have a firework client, and of course next week is it's been bananas. Kyla, our daughter, our 15-month-old, woke up late from her nap because we and him were both in the weeds. So had to feed her real quick, and she has spaghetti. So give her a quick bath. He's still on a phone call, and I'm like, I have a 5 o'clock. So, but I just jumped right into it. I know who you are, even though we briefly met. You're going to be helping out an event that I'm hosting. But what's your name? What you do?
My name is Karimah Henry. I am a full-time blogger, a mommy, of course, and the best wife. Yes.
I love that. Yes, absolutely. And he better agree.
So I have 2 boys, 10 and 7. No more kids. We are good with that. And I'm the creator of the blog, Crafting a Fun Life.
I love that. And I did look you up on LinkedIn. I had to LinkedIn stalk you before because we are recently new in our business relationship. What did you do before this? I know you've been doing this for 4 years, right?
Yes. So I started my blog during the pandemic. Okay. So this will be year 5. But before that, I was a preschool teacher. But then, got married. I'm like, okay, kids, how is this going to work out?
Right.
And so we decided that I would be a stay-at-home mom. There was no end date. I was just like, we'll see how it goes kind of thing. But after my oldest turned 1, I was like, I want to kind of ease back into the workforce, not necessarily be a preschool teacher because I feel like that would be a lot.
Right.
But I wanted something for myself. And so I saw a Facebook post about a local mom blog looking for a writer.
Oh.
And so I was like, I like writing.
Yeah.
This is something simple that I can do that won't take me away from being a mom. So I started writing for the local mom blog, and I became like the craft expert. I've always enjoyed drawing, sketching, painting, things like that from a young age. So when I became a preschool teacher, it was like easy transition. And then 100%. What I'm doing now is
and it's a natural fit. I mean, just looking at what you publish, and you've been on TV and publications.
Extra teacher, I remember we had like a multicultural celebration, and because my family's from Jamaica, I did I made a bobsled out of cardboard.
Wow.
I made a jerk pit, like the grill, for the jerk pit, so the kids would have like the menu and they would be cooking the jerk chicken or the rice and peas like that. It was over the top. I was extra.
No, I love extra. No, please. That's amazing. Oh my goodness.
My husband and I will be celebrating our 13th wedding anniversary in August.
Nice.
So but we've been together total October would be like 21 years.
Okay, nice.
So seeing each other at different stages of life has been something. Now we're like seeing each other with the gray hairs popping up. So we're just like, oh my gosh. We're actually, I guess you would say, growing old together.
No, that's awesome.
So
like 21 years, but 7 years this year. So
well, that's a lot too. That's a big deal.
No, it is. But congratulations to you. What y'all got planned?
I have no idea. So whenever you're thinking about my tips for people planning their wedding,
please
think about, if you plan on having kids, think about back to school time, because our anniversary is when they go back to school.
That's a hard one. Yes.
So for when we celebrated our 10th, we had to do it in July. So we went out of town, and I was just like, oh my gosh, every time we're trying to plan anniversary, like it's always back to school. So this year, after we drop them off, we're gonna go somewhere, relax, until it's time to pick them back up again.
I don't blame you. Oh my gosh.
That's my advice. If you're planning a wedding, think about it. If you're having kids, time of the year, holiday, things like that.
No, that's a good nugget. All right, y'all. So again, I'm hoping y'all are gonna be interested and stay along and tag and like and subscribe. But that is a nugget for you. That is what was that? What was the biggest challenge when he turned 1 and you went back into the workforce?
I think it started before that. I think I just felt lonely. I just felt like I was losing myself. I felt like, I went to school, I did all these things, and now I'm just a mom. And I never pictured myself as a stay-at-home mom. That's not something growing up that I saw often, a Black stay-at-home mom. So I just felt like I was serving no purpose. Like it's hard to explain, but I just felt like I needed more. I wanted more for myself, but I also felt guilty about not taking time away from my kid, my family. I was trying to find that balance. So I figured, I felt like that was a sign when I saw that Facebook post about, writing. I was like, okay, this would be like an outlet for me.
Right.
Of what I'm going through, what I do to keep my son entertained. And it kind of also forced me to actually go out, because before, I would go to the library here and there. I used to do like a play date, had a terrible experience with that.
Oh no.
Yeah, so I kind of like shut down after that.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, I'm not going out like that anymore. It's just going to be me and my son. And then it just became like loneliness. So I was like, what can I do to kind of get myself back out there again? And writing helped that, because then I would meet up with other writers, the owner of the blog, and we would go to places, events, things like that. So it kind of shifted my mindset and also kind of got me out of that slump.
Yeah.
So, so the hardest part for me, I think since it was like one of those flexible things, I didn't feel like I was losing much. Now, if I would have went back to, like a traditional 9 to 5, that probably would have been a huge adjustment, especially since I was pumping at the time.
Oh, yeah.
And I heard of the horror stories of women trying to find space to even do that. So I couldn't, in that sense, I feel privileged that I didn't have to make a huge adjustment because, I was still technically from home.
No, and I totally agree. I'm not going to totally get into my story, but in terms of the pumping, that was a few aspects that you hit the nail on the head. For me, one, I was laid off, so I didn't have a choice. I lost my job right before maternity leave, but then took that time off to be able to heal. I had a C-section, so I wanted to make sure I was able to be home. Yes, I was breastfeeding,
recover,
pumping, absolutely. So, and then on top of that, the stress of not having a job anymore. So one of the jobs, though, like you mentioned with breastfeeding, one of the jobs I took, it was a work from home role. Pay was not that great, super strict. And I needed to do just that. I needed to pump. And I told them, because one of the requirements was we had to be on camera. And not only did we have to be on camera, we had to be within the square at all time, looking to make sure we were attentive, which I get it. We're paid. And I know, a lot of people working from home, some people, not everybody. Yeah. I'm pretty disciplined, but I had to go off camera to pump or breastfeed. And I remember they asked for a doctor's note. They were like, in order for us to accommodate, we're going to need some type of doctor's note. Do you have a schedule? And I'm a new mom. I can't anticipate when, Kyla's ready to feed. Yeah. And so, no, I get it that we had to part ways. That job didn't work. And again, I'll get into that later, but it's been a struggle. And it's been such a struggle. So no, I totally understand that flexibility is so key.
Yeah.
And then of course daycare, we didn't even want to go there. We've been doing play dates just so she can interact with other children,
Yeah.
you know. And so far, no nightmares yet. Knock on wood, but
that's good. I think once you find that community, it makes a difference. Me being first time mom, I wasn't really sociable, so I met someone at like the gym that I was at,
okay.
and she created a play group, and then it became like something. And I was just like, yeah, this is yeah. I'm
Yeah,
like,
y'all gotta be comfortable.
nothing worse than being a first time mom and somebody making you feel like you're a terrible mom.
Oh yeah.
So I was just like, yeah. Yeah, I
Me.
was done with that.
Yeah, no. And luckily for me, so the mom group, I'm in a mom group. I'm in South Tampa, and I'm in a mom group there. And it's been great because there's been play dates. We can pick and choose. It's large. And it is, you're right. You have to find your niche. You have to find your people that you really click with and click well, not only you, but then of course your kids
trial,
too.
yeah.
So that's important and it's huge. And it's trial and error. You know, I've been to a few, and I may have liked the kids, but didn't necessarily like the organization that we had it at, or, you know, didn't mind the parents, but yeah, it has to all mesh. So no, I totally get that. And so, so what do you say to the mom that thinks that they have to wait till they're much older, that it's still not their time? Would you give any advice to that mom that wants to wait a little bit longer?
To have kids or to get back into the workforce?
To get back into the workforce.
I honestly believe you have to do what works for your family. Sometimes sacrifices have to be made. So if there's only, you know, your spouse with the income, then that kind of decides whether or not you go back sooner or later.
Right.
Since it was just my husband, we were on a tight budget. Your
Understand.
girl was like trying to find ways, like I was on Instagram looking for raffles, like how can I do this? How can I do that? I was couponing like nobody's business.
Right.
I was like, we knew like me being at home was like gonna be what we wanted, and so I was just like, what can I do for me to not feel like a burden to my husband? We were good, but I was just like, I don't want to be an extra expense or have, you know, start piling up debt. So I was like, what can I do? So like I said, it depends on your family, your finances, but for you, if it's a personal goal for you to kind of get back, I don't think there's like a time limit or a timeline for that. But if you decide, sometimes when you become a mom, you're like, is that something I want to keep doing? That's usually what happens. You're like, you know, I want to be able to spend time with my kids. Maybe I still want to do what I love, but maybe I want to find something that's a bit more flexible.
Right. And that's huge. No, and I hear you. We are also, obviously when I was laid off, we were on a one income household. I got, you know, a severance, but of course that goes pretty fast.
Yeah.
Obviously baby diapers. I was so stressed out I couldn't continue pumping. So then it was formula, and then I was expensive to formula. So of course, which I love it, but she was on Bobby formula, which Bobby is so much more expensive than the purple can. Yeah.
That does not sound like it comes with a coupon.
It did not. Every so often they would have like a 25% off deal or something, but it was super expensive. And then on top of that ad, they had the Bobby regular, and then they had the Bobby gentle, and of course she had the Bobby gentle. So yes.
Have mercy.
Yes. So no, I ended up I of course, like you mentioned, in terms of budgeting and such, I needed something that was flexible because the workforce, I had to go back in it, but at the same time,
childcare wasn't an option.
Yes. And I also, aside from the monetary reasons of daycare, I have the worst anxiety about Kyla going off to school. Well, of course, even later grade school, that's its own issue.
I understand. And I
yes. Yeah. Okay. See, exactly.
So it's so funny because people are like, oh, well, you're a preschool teacher. Why do you have a problem with childcare? I'm like, for that early stage when they're a baby, I know not everybody has a you know, financial ability to do it, or just don't want to. They're like, hey, you know, I'm a career person, like these kids will be fine.
Right.
But the coldness of it being 4 to 6 kids, and I remember when I started off there, I wanted to visit the nursery. They're like, oh, you can't hold them too long. I was like, what? They're babies. So like the coldness of that, I was just like, I didn't want that for my kids.
Right.
But I also just like, I wanted to be a part of them through those early stages. Like
100%.
For me personally, that's just what I wanted.
Same.
I know that's not the case for every mom. Right. No mom should feel guilty for not wanting to do that. No. But for me personally, and how I grew up, I wanted to be there for my kids, especially during the early stages.
No, 100%. And no, not to guilt shame at all. And I was in daycare. Well, I know luckily back when I was younger, there was relatives and stuff that my sister and I did. It was a little bit easier, but
that's
exactly right. But I went to I think it was Little Lambs is where I went to when I was little. So now I'm definitely a product of it, and I don't have any bad either, anything or remember any bad horror stories. But aside from me being nervous and having the apprehension of dropping her off and leaving her, I've loved, and again, I know not everyone has this luxury, but I've loved seeing those milestones. And I love actually, I am not the most domestic wife, I guess you would say, but I have enjoyed cooking for her. Like when I bought the baby puree, the baby bullet, the baby bullet, excuse me, and I was making the purees and getting all her meal preps and freezing stuff, and I'm like, who is this person? But I'm like, okay, definitely Kyla changed me there. And it was like I actually enjoy going in there and making her food and seeing her try new things and recording her. So that was awesome. And just other milestones. I mean, when she stood for the first time, the crawling, the walk,
the walk. Oh, that was
or even just that first step. Like I was there. So it's been really great. So I can't even lie. I'm super blessed that I was able to get the opportunity to have that flexibility and also do what I love. And I keep flinging this hair. I know I told you I had a hair day.
Look, the hair is looking good. So fling away.
No, I love it, but I am never a color girl at all. I'm always 1B, maybe a 2.
It looks good. I love it.
Thank you. Kiki Palmer. I am loving her hair color. Okay? Yes. So I changed my 1B and I ended up getting a 30. And normally I do mid back. When I tell you this was all the way down. So I keep adjusting because
I'm like, I think this is like a 22-inch. So like I understand.
Yeah, so I'm not used to the new hair. So if I'm like, but that's funny.
No, I understand.
Perfect.
I've done that on live TV before.
Yeah, I'm like, shoot. And I'm sitting on it. So let me go ahead and adjust here.
Whole thing, I'm like, oh my gosh.
So taking on more hours now that the boys are older?
Oh yeah, I do more, especially since both kids are in school. But then like once school start, I took on the role of VP of the PTA. So
okay, nice. That's a job in itself, my goodness.
Oh yes, like I was like, I didn't realize how intense it would be. I wouldn't say intense, but the work, because like last school year, I was volunteering, but it was a position job. Like I was a chair of a new event, but it wasn't like I didn't feel obligated to always be there. But now as a VP, I'm like, I have to actually be more involved. I have a bigger role.
Yes. You weren't voluntold anymore. Now you definitely, when you're not there, you're like,
I was kind of voluntold for the position.
Okay. Yes.
The former president, and she was just like, I think you would be great for the job, So yeah, you're going to be the VP. I was like, oh. And she said, we'll have a vote. And I was like, okay.
I'll vote. Yes. That's funny.
I'm excited. There's a conference coming up, so we'll be learning a lot of what to do, how to make it better. So it's going to be an adjustment. So I don't know how it's going to work with me doing contract work and that. So we'll see. But like I said, what I do is a bit flexible, unless I have like a specific event I need to be at.
Right.
Then, that's a bit different. But as far as writing, like I can have a deadline, and I love to turn things in early because the stress of having to
check mark.
So I have I just when did I submit it? So I went to Jamaica on the 8th, and I shipped a project to this magazine before I left, even though it wasn't due until the 17th.
Right.
But I was like, in case there's shipping delays, I don't want any problem. And
I mean, I know it's home as well, but you're on vacation. You don't want to.
Yeah, I don't want to think about it, especially when I get back. I'm like, no, like let's get this taken care of beforehand. So, like, if I have a project, I like to do it early, so I'm not stressed out about it later.
I love that. That's awesome. I looked on your Instagram. I've seen you've done quite a few TV shows as well.
Oh yeah.
Specifically kids crafts. Do you do crafts for adults? Have you hosted adult craft night or activities?
I haven't, because I feel like people assume I only do kids crafts, so they're like not sure if I do adult crafts, but I do. Like, I love crafting myself, so I do adult crafts as well. I know I've had people like, oh, that looks a little too complicated, so it's kind of hard to kind of do things because everybody thinks, even some of the kids crafts I do, they're like, oh, that seems like a lot.
Oh,
so, I know. So, but yeah, if there's a time where like adults are looking for something, they've reached out and I've made suggestions to them. So
that's awesome.
I think I will start pivoting soon to start showcasing more of not just young kids craft, but teens and adults and older adults.
Right.
Activities. That way people can know craft is not just for kids, kids, it's for anyone.
Yes. I love how you found your calling. It matches very well. Something you have the childhood education background.
Yeah.
And you're able to match that. That's great.
Honestly, my degree is actually gerontology, the study of aging.
Really?
So like I did the internship, and then of course there's like a hiring freeze, and I'm just like, oh my gosh. So I had to pivot. And then so I went from trying to work with the older generation to the younger generation. Wow. So like my goal later on is to kind of bridge that gap and find a way to do something that kind of blends the old and young and bring them together. So that's my goal.
I'm happy you said that because
I still love working with old people. Old people
right.
Fun. That reminds me. I did do an event with I think it was like a senior center. Yeah, it was a senior center for Christmas.
Nice.
And we had like a Charlie Brown Christmas theme.
Yes.
And it was so much different because I'm so used to following the kids around and the instructions and things like that. But old people, you tell them what to do, and they're like, okay, we got it. And they come up with their own ideas of how they want it to look.
I love that.
So most of it is just encouragement or cleaning up.
Yes. No, I'm super happy this came about because the event that we're collaborating on, the back to school event, there's a senior building in that community, and you may get some that's going to trickle down. Actually, not. You are going to get some that's going to trickle down. So we'll definitely talk about that. As they say, when of course, when you worked in the corporate world, we'll take that offline and we can go ahead and discuss that later. But then also for the other event in November. So I'm happy. That's perfect. That came up. So we'll go ahead and change that.
Working with older population is my first love. Like my first job was at what they call a CCRC, Continuing Care Retirement Community. Yes. So they had the retirement home, the assisted living facility, and then the nursing home. So it was this huge campus. So I worked in the retirement home side. And so I loved working there. That was like the best job ever. Plus I wanted a job where like the kids from high school wasn't coming and bothering me looking for a discount. I didn't want that harassment. And
I totally get it.
That was like the best paying job because back then I think I think the average pay was like $5 something, and we were getting paid $6 to $6.50. So like we were balling.
Yeah, yes.
We were high school balling. That was like the big deal. Like we were getting paid way more. So we felt good, but it was just a lot of fun. I didn't have to worry about bringing my lunch because, they provided the food. And then like in between we'll play Scrabble because I love board games.
I love that.
So, and the Olivia used to entertain us, we would entertain them. So it was a lot of fun. So from there I've decided I went to go to school and do gerontology.
Yeah. Okay. I would have never guessed that. That's awesome. I like to pivot there. I pivoted. Yeah.
So I just had to shift and, because hey, you gotta do what you gotta do.
Right. And then I saw something interesting. It was a story that was fed to me on social, and it was talking about mom guilt. And and someone mentioned, of course, I went into the comments now because I'm a new mom and I haven't actually, no, I have. I'm not even gonna lie. I have, not necessarily with the work but unfortunately we had a family death, so we had to go.
Sorry to hear.
Back to Ohio. No, I appreciate that. No, thank you. And it just made sense to leave Kyla at home. She's flown before, but that's another reason why she's flown before. And I know how she can be. And of course she's at that time, when we first flew, we've flown with her from different ages rather, infancy, toddler or whatnot. And we didn't bring her, and just leaving her, even if it's for the day, just it broke my heart because we're so attached, especially because I have her all day.
Honestly, I know how you feel because my biological father passed away when my oldest was 4 months.
Okay.
And so it was just easier for me to go with one of my sisters to fly down and do the burial and things like that. And then, like I said, I was pumping. Yeah. So I had this guilt of leaving my baby behind while I'm pumping. Right. So I was just like, oh my gosh, what if I didn't leave enough milk? He's never had formula. Like, what's going to happen? So it was just, oh my gosh, it was a lot. And then coming back, and then while I was there, I spilled some milk. When people say don't cry over spilled milk, they never pumped. They never pumped.
Oh,
I booed, cried because first of all, I'm burying my father. I'm away from my child as a first-time mom. And then I spilled my breast milk. I felt like took forever to pump, and it was a lot. I was just so overwhelmed, and I was just like, oh my gosh. So then when it's time to come back, then there was a problem through security of getting my milk. They're like, what is this? I'm like, breast milk. They're like, what? It's like, what? I was like, this is 4 days worth of milk. It's coming with me.
Absolutely.
There's no way. I would not mind being on the news for disturbing the peace over breast milk.
No fly list over my breast milk, which
I was like, I just buried my father. I'm away from my baby. This is my breast milk. I just want to go home. Like, it was a hot mess. And then there's like a delay of flight. So I was just like,
it was just way too much.
It was a lot.
Yeah.
I was like, I'm never leaving here. I'll never leave my child again. I felt like I was being punished because I left my new baby.
I understand. No.
Oh my gosh.
I understand you on so many levels there. I lost my father in 2019. We didn't have a baby yet, but I'm there with you.
So gosh, yeah.
But I will say when I left, because that was my first time away from Kyla, and it was not fun at all. Again, look, Kyle is an amazing dad, and I knew she was in good hands, but he's working during the day. He has like he works from 7:30 to 4:30. He has a break. He's on his computer. He works from home, but I get her up and do all the things. So we definitely have that routine, and she expects certain things because again, even her little short life, she knows,
oh yeah.
And just, I was calling, texting, and of course FaceTiming because I wanted to see, and just, I was focused because it was an emotional time because we lost a loved one, but my mind was back here in Florida, and I couldn't wait to get back. I could even, like, I thought, okay, I'm going to be able to be in this nice hotel bed and actually be able to sleep. Don't worry, because I wanted to get back home to my daughter. So, I know the person in particular that talked about mom guilt, they said it was a scam. And of course, I ended up just kind of drowning out, or kind of zoned out rather, the message, and just went down to the comments because I haven't realized that part yet.
That's where everything is in the comments section.
So far, how many no's have you had to say just in terms of workload? Because I know I've gone through this. I was a workaholic. So we ended up getting married in society's norms later. I was 32 when we got married. Typically, normally it's right out of college, or even, or
I was 28.
High school. Okay, perfect. So we're in that same vein. But before that, workaholic, you name it, I've done it just in terms of work. So having her and now having some other opportunities, thank God, I've had to say no and not be able to take them on. And I wanted to do it because that workaholic in me is still there. But at the same time, I don't want to cheat myself. I don't want to cheat her, because again, I'm very much in this as being mom and wanting to be available. And then ultimately, I don't want to cheat my client and spreading myself too thin. Mm-hmm. Have you come to that situation?
Where I've had to say no? I wouldn't say like a major project, but a TV opportunity. I think a lot of people don't understand when it comes to media. A lot of times you are called sometimes at the very last minute. And I mean, like, they'll call you today, hey, can you come in tomorrow, kind of thing. And there's been times where I had to say no, like whether there was no one available to look after my kids or take them here or there. And I kind of like, I'm like, man, am I missing out on something else, kind of thing? But then I'm like, for me, I'm mom first.
Right
now. Right. They got a few more years because
right. Yes.
But I'm like, I cannot do it. I apologize, but I cannot make it work. So I have felt guilty about that, but it does suck, because like I really, really wanted to do it, and I'm just like, man, that would have been such a cool opportunity, and I just had to, I couldn't pull it. But
have you kept in contact? Like, have you been nurturing that relationship to try to come back?
Yeah, so like since it's local, apparently she loves me a lot, because she still asks me to come back. Like she said, I'm her go-to person. That's especially great. If someone else, because for this one it's like a mom panel, kind of like The View. So like if she has a parent or mom that cancels at the last minute, she would typically reach out to me. I'm like one of her go-to reliable people. So she knows if I say no, it's like
it's for a reason.
It's for a reason. It's not like I'm a flaky person.
Right.
So I think once you establish those relationships, or you're just honest with people about why you can't do something, and say, hey, can you please keep me in mind for future opportunities, and kind of go from there. But I'm found that I'm like, okay, I let them know these are the days that I'm really, are wide open. And these particular days, I'm not as flexible. Right. So like, and if so, like, can it be while my kids are in school? Yes. So like, I tend like kind of, if I already have that relationship with that person, worked with them before, I'm like, hey, these are the days that work for me. So if you have a project or you need me here at a certain time, these are pretty good. Or if you need me on these 2 days when my husband's typically in the office, as long as it's around this time period, I'm good.
That's awesome.
But other than that, I'm so sorry. I can't.
No, I totally agree. I know you're 100%. My mom has always said, when you work in your gift, opportunities will open up and it'll just align. And clearly that does for you. And it has been. And and I totally get it. And flexibility. And I'm very transparent too with anyone that I take on in terms of client. I am mom first, no matter how much I'm like, I still want to chase that paycheck or chase that opportunity. But Kyla is my
At
number
this
one
stage right
priority.
now.
Yeah. And like you said, later on, my sister I just actually planned my nephew's graduation party. He's about to go off to college. So my sister, in essence, is like, she's still mom, but it's definitely kind of taking a slight of a lower tier because she won't, have to be on call essentially all the time now. She can kind of step back. Now, lastly, if anyone wants to find you, how can they follow you, and what upcoming projects do you have here in Tampa or locally? Because I know you're on TV and publications too.
So they can follow me on TikTok, Instagram, and Facebook at Crafting a Fun Life. You can visit my website at craftingafunlife.com. Sign up for my newsletter. I share freebies and different things that you may not find on my blog or social media. And I always like giving discounts because I also have an Etsy shop. So I send out discount codes for that only to my subscribers. So definitely sign up for my newsletter. I share things like, what's going on in my life that I may not want to share on social media, like nothing too personal, but hey, this is what I'm doing. Only you guys know because you're my crew kind of thing. Exclusive stuff. And then trying to think, back to school. I'm like doing already.
Yeah.
Working on different back to school projects right now. So, I mean, I know June is just almost over, but the way that you have to plan like a few months ahead of time, especially with crafts and things like that, that's where I'm at right now, is thinking about back to school.
No, that's awesome. Very cool. No, thank you for your time today. This has been awesome. And I love a different perspective, especially since you have older children, but you're still mom and now VP.
Honestly, there's still mom guilt there too, because like I said, I just went to Jamaica with my husband. The kids were like, why are we not going with you? Like, how dare you go? You go somewhere without us, like even at their big age.
Right. Listen.
So I can't say it never ends. And then you're like, oh my gosh, if my kid was here, they would love this kind of thing.
Fun fact. No, it's so crazy. And like you said, as you're at that big age. So my parents, my dad, unfortunately, he's no longer with us, but he was in the car business for a huge part of my life, aside from he was in the military and then worked for Department of Corrections and then ultimately got into the car business. He, of course, with his level, they won a trip to the Bahamas, all inclusive to the Atlantis. Me, of course, me and my sister are 7 years apart. So she was already gone. She joined the military. I think it was like 13, 14 years old. And they were like, we're going to the Bahamas. I said, I pouted, I cried. Girl, guess who came? I was their third wheel to the Bahamas. I guilted them into going. But it was so much fun because of the situation, we had the accommodations were great. And of course, that resort, I wasn't even in their hair. I mean, I was just out just doing my thing.
You just wanted the trip. You didn't want to be around.
Right. But I hear about it all the time. So it's just so crazy. Kyla, at her young age, there's so many personality traits that are already coming about. And my mom, she always said, keep living. So I cannot wait when Kyla and I finally think we're going to go away.
Let me tell you something.
I'm coming
too. My bag's already packed. It's in the car.
Right. So I'm already prepared for that. I'm already prepared. Oh my gosh.
It's so funny because my oldest, he's like the planner. So whenever we do family vacation, he's researching. He's like, especially when we do a cruise, he's looking up on YouTube the type of cruise it is, what kind of things they offer, what he should expect, what their kids club is looking like.
Okay.
Where we're stopping at, what we can do when we get, like, he's not messing around.
I love
my
that.
youngest, he's like, where's the food? That's it.
I just want to eat.
Just show me where the ice cream at. That's all I care about.
I love that. That's awesome.
So yeah, like, don't let people tell you, oh, don't travel with your kids.
Oh no, she's coming.
Spend time with your spouse, but also traveling with your kids, even when they're young.
Yep.
they may not remember, but you will. So,
oh no, 100%. No, she comes along, just one, because again, I haven't cut the cord in that regard yet. But no, she definitely has. I'm waiting for her, Joe, just to get obviously she doesn't like to be restrained. So this, in terms of car trips, because we frequently go back and forth to Atlanta, just because that is somewhere we consider home. It's a nice drive. And now we have it, when it was just us two and the dog. She's a smaller dog, so of course, we would stop, give her treats or, whatever. It was all fine. But Kyla, this one, I don't care how much Miss Rachel she has, how many busy toys she has. When she's ready to get out that car seat, she's ready to get out, and the whole car is going to hear about it. So we're still going, because I'm like, you know what? Practice makes perfect. She'll kind of get used to it. She hasn't gotten used to it yet, but I'm hoping that's going to eventually happen. But no, I definitely plan, because I travel as a kid with my parents, and I think it's great to open your perspective. Gosh. And you bond, and like you said, the memories.
Yes, definitely the memories. Like every other year we do major trips with my in-laws. And one year we went to, I just happened to be pregnant with my youngest, but we went on a Mediterranean cruise. So we flew into Barcelona. My oldest, he was like potty training at the time.
Oh gosh, how was that?
Let me tell you something. We were so confident that, he's going to do well on the plane. We're just going to bring 2 pull-ups and only pack a little bit of pull-ups while we're there. What were we thinking?
Mommy brain. And y'all were just excited about the trip. How about that?
We were just excited about the trip. I'm like, what? So I don't care if you're potty training or not. You bring the Pampers, the diapers, whatever, even if it's like 100 bags, bring it, because your child will probably regress while they're on that trip. And that's what happened. Like, he was having accidents left and right. We couldn't find like actual diapers. So we tried to do the swim diapers.
How was that?
It does not hold like a regular diaper. Yeah. So that was an epic fail, like especially on the plane. So like it was a hot mess situation. So
memories.
do not recommend it. So if your child is potty training, still bring those pull-ups.
Oh my gosh.
When they're at home, not abroad.
I like that. No, good. Noted. Thank you very much. Oh my gosh, I can only imagine.
No, like especially if you use a specific diaper or whatever, you're going somewhere, they might not carry it or whatever the reason, you may not find it. So it's best to be prepared than not. So
no, 100%. And like I said earlier about the Bobby formula, we have to use specific and I have to use specific diapers too, because she'll get a little rash. So no, I totally get it.
Yeah. Pack like you're going somewhere, nothing's going to be available.
Noted. No, thank you. I appreciate that.
Are you going to be looking at a hot mess like,
gosh, trying to get creative ways to make a pull up for yourself. Oh my gosh, that's crazy. But you can laugh about it now and get some words and wise for somebody else.
Oh my gosh, it was definitely a funny experience.
Oh my gosh. Well, no, this has been great. I really appreciate your time. I know I went over, so sorry about that. But
no, you're good.
This is cool.
The grandparents are here. I'm taking advantage of it.
One bit. I had surgery, I mentioned, on the 3rd, and my mom was here, and it was Cal again. He's totally capable and really great with Kyla, but it was just good again, because I just
different about having your mom there.
It really is. It really is. She was here after my C-section when I had Kyla, and then of course, any times we've needed her, she's been here. So no, I totally understand. And you said pop earlier. I don't even get emotional, because that was my dad. My dad was pop to that said nephew that's now 17, about to be 18, and oh my gosh, 3 days. But having them around is amazing. So
yeah, he just bought them because they love apples. So he bought them a bag each. And they love it. And they go through it.
Yeah. No.
I'm like, my mom was fussing at him. He was like, "You acting like I'm getting Jordans. It's just apples."
That's so fun. Well, fun. It's so funny you mentioned that. So my mom drove, and again, just to go to show you grandparents, So our place flooded. We were in Hyde Park originally. Now we're like more so like on the cusp of Ybor. My mom lives out in Brandon. So of course, she lives in South Tampa. So she drives, and it is, and I'm not gonna lie, it is a convenient. We're on the way. I picked up Kyla some pineapple and I cut it up for her, and I'm gonna drop off some pineapple. So I have a video of her trying it for the first time right before I mentioned she had spaghetti, and I was trying to give her fruit for her dessert afterwards. So she got to try that, and so between the spaghetti and the pineapple juice, she was so picky. So I'm like, I gotta get the cab, and like I said, Kyle's still in the call, and I'm like, oh my gosh, I have this call to take, but that is number one. So yeah, grandparents on a whole nother level. But then my dad, we obviously didn't have Kyla, but we had a 4-legged grandchild. That was our first
grandpup.
Kyle. So at the time when my dad was alive, we lived over in St. Pete. My dad would come over. He would say he was going to hang out with Kyle and bring a beer or whatever, and they would watch TV. He would come over and bring snacks for Cujo. Cujo is our rescue dog, and she's not vicious at all. She's a terrier. But he would come over and bring treats for her and go take her for a walk and go hang out. He loved that dog. Oh my gosh. It was just insane. So no, grandparents, just because who goes out of their way to not only come over, but then yeah.
But I like that stage for them. I feel like with my parents, especially, there was 5 of us. It was like, it was different. I think it was more of like survival.
Yes. You're right.
Because even the little bit of paperwork I have to do for 2 kids, I can't imagine 5. And I felt like it was more because now we have at least a lot of stuff we could do on the computer.
Right.
Back then, everything you'd like right. I was like, have mercy. So like there was so much more they had to go through, deal with.
Right.
That now is nice to see them get to enjoy the fruits of their labor, relax, spoil the grandkids. Like, so I love seeing them at this stage of their life, because I most definitely, Lord's will be the same.
Absolutely.
So I love this for them. I love to see them hang. He was like, before I came, my dad was, there's my stepdad, I call him my dad.
Of course,
he's been involved so long, but
culturally, I think
he's playing basketball with the boys. And I'm just trying to think, I'm like, I don't ever think he's ever played basketball with my brothers. He's trying to like fuss at him, but like actually like see him in there and doing all the extra stuff has been pretty cool, because he's always had to work. And now that they're both retired, is different. So
yes, they have all the time in the world now.
Oh gosh,
and they live for it. Like you call and it's all
they come to the games and support them, like, and they don't play like, is he messing with my grandbaby? Like,
that was great. I appreciate you